Hi everyone, welcome to week 9 of this course in Theoretical Perspectives and Key Ideas, and this week is devoted to the topic of colonialism and post-colonialism and the relationship between that condition and the literature that is devoted to understanding it, post-colonial studies and anthropology. So the ways in which the whole question of colonialism impacts and is inherent really to the intellectual project of anthropology, and the ways in which the realization of that fact and the increasing kind of concern with it and focus upon it from the 1970s onwards within anthropology in all sorts of different ways and to different degrees and from different angles and so on, really shifted for many anthropologists, not all anthropologists, but many anthropologists, the whole premise of the activity of anthropology, and actually for many called into question some of the fundamental points of departure that anthropologists had taken for granted from the beginning of the discipline in the 19th century onwards, right? So we'll be looking at these issues this week. The form of the lecture will be the usual, a series of clips where we kind of go through this topic, in different angles. But the last clip will actually be a conversation between myself and our colleague here at UCL, Ashraf Hock. He's a much admired and loved colleague of mine, or of ours, who is here at UCL and whose work actually engages directly with these questions of colonialism and is much more of an expert on this topic than I am. So, I feel that it was appropriate and useful to actually bring in Ash in this conversation to give you a kind of much more closely understood and involved perspective on this topic than the one that I could provide myself. As with many topics that we cover from week to week, I know enough about it to be able to teach it to you, but I'm not always the expert. And of course, this topic has deeply political dimensions to it, as we're very much aware. We've already been discussing them intermittently throughout the course, and certainly last week they came to the fore when we were talking about the rise of reflexivity and the influence of feminism, which, as I explained last week, really has to be understood alongside the influence of post-colonial theory in shifting the ground in anthropology, primarily in America and then also in Europe from the 1980s onwards. This is a topic that I'm, entirely engaged with in my own work, but it's not a topic that is the focus of my work, whereas for Ash it is. So I thought it would be appropriate to have another voice to talk about these issues with you. Unfortunately, for you, the Q&A that we'll have after the lecture will be just with me, not with Ash as well. Ash did me a massive favour to do this interview. He's very, very busy, so I don't think it was fair to ask him to also come to the lecture. He has lectures of his own to give to the Q&A, I mean. So you'll have to do with just me in the Q&A. So without further ado, I'll see you in the next clip.